Hey viewers, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to be working on a project I've never done before, and it involves this product. A vinyl plank floor. Never used this product in the past. I got it from Lowe's, and I'm going to put it in a very small hallway, but that hallway has 6 openings, so it's going to be a challenge to make it fit. Some of the tools I'll be using today are knee pads, a spatula for when I'm removing trim molding, an oscillating tool for undercutting molding, maybe having to do a little bit of sanding. I'm going to use some liquid nails on this project, which I've not seen anybody else use, but that's because I'm using this piece of custom nose molding that I made for the top of the stairs, and I'll show you that in a minute. For the demo, 2 different kinds of crowbars or pry bars, something to pull staples, perhaps a sturdy putty knife for removing molding, a utility knife, maybe a screwdriver for some staples, something to measure with. Because molding is 1920s, 30s vintage, there could be some lead-based paint. So in addition to vacuuming, I'm going to be using a respirator. For spacing, you can buy a kit that has hammer and a bar for pulling your planking together. It can come with spacers. I made my own. The flooring is supposed to be pretty stable and not a lot of movement. The directions for this product does call for leaving a space, and that space is supposed to be then caulked, and I think that's for the purpose of waterproofing, so you don't get any water down underneath the underlayment. So closing out the tools, you'll need either some kind of mallet or hammer. This has soft and hard sides, and a tapping tool. The green part is what comes in the kit, and I just added a block with a handle to make things a little easier. So let me show you what the floor looks like. So coming up from the basement steps, this is a side profile of the piece that will be going here. And I've marked on this tape where this piece of tread, if you want to call it, this has to be cut back so it's flush with this board. Once it is, this will go here, but it will lay on top, and this is cut to the thickness of the planking. So this is the carpet that I'll be pulling up. I've got 2 rooms where there is heat tape that connected the 2 types of rugs together. We'll be cutting that, but we'll be removing all of the quarter round molding that's down here and all of this molding. And that will allow the product to go within 1/8 of an inch of the wall. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull up these 3 pieces of edge molding. That came off pretty easy. All right, we're gonna cut off this old nose with the jigsaw. We'll finish that up with the oscillating tool. To reuse this molding, it's pretty handy to have this kind of a tool. Just grab in the back, pull that out. It's pretty old lumber, so it's a little brittle. To help break that paint line, I'm just going to score that with a knife. Should help a little bit to release it. So we'll go around the room and do that to all the trim as soon as we get the carpet up. Because I'm not exactly sure where the threshold's going to go in here, I'll just cut this carpet a little long. It should be in pretty good shape. And for this area, we're back to cutting. Well, as you can clearly see, I've got hundreds of staples to pull out. So we'll get started on that. And then we pull up all these carpet strips, the quarter round, and take off the baseboard molding. Now we'll see how the baseboard comes off. The reason for the spatula is I put this back here and use my pry bar to get in there and hopefully not damage this. Now this is a plaster wall. Drywall is going to be a little more susceptible to damage. But let's see how that goes. I don't know where the nails are, but I can see it splitting. Let's try this. Let's try a different tool. Hit a nail right there. The board is cracking. But it is 100 years old. So I don't think I'm going to worry too much about trying to salvage that. I can just mill up some new stock. What we'll do now is just get this off. Well, down in the shop, I took a look at the baseboard material and thought it could probably be salvaged. I only needed to replace one board that was broken, so I milled a piece of pine for that. Filled in some dings, and we'll sand that and give it a coat of paint. Due to the presence of what I believe is lead-based paint, probably as a first coat on all of the trim, I'm going to be using a vacuum system as I undercut the moldings. So I decided to reuse as much of the baseboard molding as I can, but just in case some of these smaller pieces break, I've milled up 2 additional pieces, just in case we have some damage. So right now, before we start laying the floor, I'm going to give these the first coat of paint. I thought about spraying this, but decided not to. It's really supposed to rain this afternoon. So we'll just do it the old-fashioned way with a brush. Sometimes when you're using a brush, you know, if you're not careful with your strokes, you can leave brush marks. But this will just be the first coat, then it'll be lightly sanded. So we'll do all these and get. Well, one of the things about old houses is you're probably going to have to do some custom work. So on the stair tread at the top of the basement steps, I've had to cut this special piece of molding, which will act as a new nose. The kitchen and bathrooms have two different floor heights, so I've had to cut some special molding to deal with those situations. This one is for the bathroom. And you might be able to see here that this is not 90 degrees. The resilient flooring coming out of the kitchen actually curves up a little bit. So a lot of custom cutting on this project. And then down here, after I gave my pieces their first coat, I was able to see a lot of dings. And I also don't like the fact, you know, that I'm getting brush marks. So I filled the dings and I'm going to sand this all down, and then we're going to end up spraying these. So as a part of the project, I also want to get rid of these little paint lines because the new molding will be 3/8 of an inch higher. So what I'm going to use is this handy tool with a sanding pad and knock those down. Oh, and I'm also going to get my dust mask on and get some suction on here with the vacuum system. To figure out my layout, I measured in from the nose molding 4.5 inches. That will give me a partial plank. And I also created this storyboard. Since each plank is 7.5 inches wide, I've laid out to see where that will bring me, which will be a final plank of about 4 3/4 wide. And then here at the kitchen, the piece I need to cut in back of this molding will be about 6 inches wide. And this works out really nice. I already know my floor is really square because of the existing hardwood floor. And when I put this panel in here, I can cut off that tongue. This piece will slide up, and actually I can take this piece and slide it in from this direction, so I don't have to have a joint here. To start my corner over here, I really have to have a starting strip installed, and what I'll be using is a tack strip and a piece of this Z-channel. The Z-channel goes like this. I'll be nailing down through here into that channel, and the front of this rug will get wrapped around here, and this will get hammered down. And then next to that will be a piece of molding that will go over the board like such. And the molding that I'm using comes with 3 different types of molding pieces for different applications. And there is a spacer you can add to raise this up just a little bit. We'll see if that will work in this application. So for now, I'm going to tack the strip down, and we'll go from there. Cutting the Z-strip's pretty easy. Just measure what you need. Do a snip here, a snip here, and you can just bend that. It breaks free. Okay, you want this long side facing the carpet, and you want your spikes coming up facing away from the carpet. I'm going to put that right about here. Just get that couple nails started. Make sure the setback is the same. I have a nail punch here I'm going to use simply because I re-drilled these holes, put them a little closer so I could nail through this strip. So I'll get them nailed and be right back. The edge of my carpet isn't exactly straight. This is the shortest piece. The ends are the longest coming out. And I've rolled this underneath, and that seems to be the proper distance that I need. So what I'm going to do is just visually look down here along the back edge of the strip, and I'm going to measure the carpet, and that's about 2 inches. So if I come over here and look at 2 inches, make a mark. Come over here, mark 2 inches, and then using a straight edge, I can connect these points to my center, and I'll know how much I have to cut off. So I'll mark that and be right back. Okay, got that marked. Now we'll cut the carpet. Okay, now I can bend this to go underneath. Just starting at one corner. Tap that down. I'm just keeping the carpet pushed in. So we'll finish that up and come back again. So to install this track, you cut it the same way, snip this side, and bend it, and it'll snap off. And what I determined is that I needed to have an 1/8 inch shim. So I've done that. We got some screws. And you only need like every other screw in here. You don't need every hole. Well, I may need to pre-drill because that's pretty hard, so I'll be back. Definitely hardwood. Okay, we'll finish this up. I'll be around the door. I have a space set aside here. I see that I can go in here 3/4 of an inch and measuring to this edge. Well, let's measure to the outside edge. I can go 4. So I'm going to make a mark at 4, and I want to go back here, so that distance is also 4. So I can come back here at 4 inches. So let's cut that out and see how it fits. Everything about this project is custom. I have a filler strip in here that has a taper to it because the floor slightly rises up. I have to nail down this edge. And then over here, this will join. And now I can cut the end. Okay, line up this edge and tap it in. This next piece, we'll lock in the edge. Because this part of the floor has a bit of a hump, this is going to sit high, which I can't have, since that has to fit flush with this piece of molding. So what I'm going to do is get some glue in here so we can fasten that down. little bit there. Slide that piece in. Just get a nail started here so I have a straight edge. And I think I have to shift this whole panel just a little bit. See if we can tighten that up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Put a little bit of glue right under here. And we're going to put some weight on it. Got a little bit of glue squeezed out right here, which is fine. Wipe that off. And I have about 60 pounds right here. I'm going to put that right on that corner. Okay, that feels pretty good. We'll let that set up. For this threshold and this piece, I'll be gluing this to this. And so that's going to take a day. We'll come back tomorrow and finish that. I just need to glue the 3/8 inch side. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of glue on there. What I have is a little bit of a shim so I can make the corners even. And then we'll compress it with some more clamps. All right, the next day we'll see how this piece fits. Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to re-glue something. So I've applied a bead of liquid nails under this front edge of the strip and wood glue along the faces here. Pull this together with some nails. a wet cloth here for some glue squeeze out, and what I'm going to do is put some weight on this to make everything sit flush. I have about 16 pounds here. And then I'm going to put another 60 or so on top of that. Now we can come over here and start working on this piece. This area is really difficult because I got 3 openings and currently I'm working backwards. So I have to have a seam in here to get under each door threshold. Put that together. We've got about 1/4 of an inch wiggle room. Let's see if we can put this back together, working backwards. Okay, like that. We already have another piece pre-cut to go in here. This last piece has been a bit of a trial and error, just to get my width correct. Check this piece of nose molding. And I think I just want to take probably a hair off of this. I'll do that with a hand plane. was getting some squeaking when I was walking on this part of the floor, and the squeaking wasn't coming from this. I think it had to do with the material that's used here rubbing on the floor. So what I did is I took some baby powder, put it down there, and kind of pushed it around with a stick. And that seems to have helped the problem. So maybe that'll help you if you have such a problem. This next piece is maybe the most difficult because I've got to slide in here, I have a short section that goes under here. The joints are tight. Let's tap it in. For the last two doorways, instead of putting a tack strip under here like I did earlier with a Z bar, where I folded the carpet under, we're going to eliminate the tack strip and just fasten these strips down. I've already pre-drilled, and I've added a 1/8 inch filler strip underneath to raise up my height. And what that will do for me this will go push down on that strip, and that should give me a nice tight fit. Getting close to the wall here, I don't really have room to use my tapping block anymore. So I've made this sacrificial piece that I can use this for tapping. All right, now we're just left with doing two pieces here since I have to slide it in under the molding, both sides. Last pieces. Because I had two pieces of door jamb, I can't connect my last pieces together with the interlocking joints. I have to glue them. So what I've done is I've cut back on the foam padding, and I'll be adding a little bit of glue to fill those spots. And I've already done a test fit. Push that up in place. Do the same here. I can give this a little bit of bend to get that underneath. And that makes a nice tight butt joint. And I can pull these together. To finish off the doorways, I have cut my piece to length and already cut my edges. And these should just tap down into place. Here's a little pro tip for you, but this isn't coming from a pro. If you don't get this started in the slot, you just end up bending this whole side to pieces. So luckily I had some spare stuff. But to try to avoid that happening again, I've taken a chisel and I've tapered the sides. So if I can get this started, it should fit. It's lined up. I know the doorstop is 3/8 of an inch thick. The nice thing about these rulers is you can accurately measure it before you cut. When I did my dry fit, I just put a little piece of tape here to mark my front edge, just to make sure I get that in the track started correctly. Wonderful. This product requires the caulking in that space, and because I have another floor below that, I don't want to fill up a gap that's over an inch full of caulk. So what I'm just going to do is I cut some material that's closed cell foam, and I can put that down in that hole before I caulk. I won't use so much material.
Just put some tape down here to make sure I don't mess up the floor at all.
Caulking is done. That completes the hallway project. We'll be doing one little thing, and that is finding out where all the studs are at. You can see a faint line here, here. When that house was originally constructed, they marked the studs. So as soon as I get some nice days, I'll spray paint the baseboards and get them installed. I'm using a Wallabot to find out where the studs are. Here's an old pencil mark from years ago that shows there's a stud there. To finish up the baseboard molding, I've put a piece of paper just folded up, kind of act as a little bit of a shim. And what I'm going to do is switch to a 2-inch. And we'll continue around the room. The last little detail is get a damp rag and run a very small bead of caulk. Fill up any nail holes. Wipe that off with a damp rag. Then I can come back with any little touch-up paint and fix the nail holes. Well, this project is complete, but it was not the easiest of things. There was a lot of custom work. This first threshold of the basement had to be cut special, as was this particular threshold and this one. Into the bathroom, all three were different. And then I used 2 places where the threshold snapped into place and the rug was used. So overall, I'm pleased with the look of the project. But there are some places where I noticed scratches. Here's one. And some here. And these were occurring immediately during the installation process. I don't know if I was sitting down, moving around, and some dirt might have been under my pants, but this product from Lowe's is not maybe the best for some areas where you're going to have a lot of traffic. There's a little scratch kind of there. So it's not a commercial grade flooring, but it looks nice. Well, if you made it to the end, I really appreciate it. If you want to see more how-to videos, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for coming by.